thanks to everyone for being here. And it's an important moment for us because we've been working on this PLUTO tool for quite a while, and we're happy to launch it today. I'm here with my colleagues Hogan and Seliem and Syed. There's a much bigger team behind the PLUTO tool, which Seliem will introduce in a moment. I would like to say a few words about the program that's behind the tool. We heard the term data solidarity a couple of times today. Solidarity is one of those words that everyone uses, and it can be empty and inflationary. So we want to fill it with meaning, and that's what we've been doing. And here I would like to gratefully acknowledge also the support and inspiration by the Governing Health Futures Commission and now by the lab. So I've had the pleasure of leading the data solidarity work the last couple of years, and it really emerged out of the realization that digital practices create a lot of benefits and inevitably also harms, and both of them are distributed inequitably, not only across societies but also within societies. And Nicole has mentioned it, Sebastian has mentioned it. It's not only a problem in terms of justice, which of course is the biggest one, arguably, but it's also a problem in terms of trust. So this is the problem that data solidarity tries to address. And the data solidarity program rests on 3 pillars. The first pillar is dedicated to making data users that are likely to create a lot of public value easier. Research, for example, cannot go ahead because there are regulatory obstacles that are too onerous or costly to overcome, or they can't be overcome for other reasons. So we need to make sure that where data use promises to create a lot of public value, this is made easier. And in our white paper we say a lot about how to do that, and we won't talk about this here. The second thing is harm prevention, the second pillar. So on the other end of the scale, from the good data users, there are those that really don't create any public benefits, yet they contain harms for individuals or groups. And we don't think that we should just try to make it more ethical. We think we should really outlaw those users with the full force of the law and work towards more effective enforcement. The third pillar, which I want to outline very briefly, is the pillar where data users don't include a lot of risks, yet they don't create a lot of public benefits either. They create a lot of commercial benefits, and there it's really important that some of those benefits are shared with the communities and people that have enabled them in the first place. There are a couple of paradigm shifts that are necessary. One is that we need to give up this predilection of the paper age, that we think in terms of data types. So there are some types of data that are inherently more dangerous or risky than others. In the era of data linkage, everything is health related. Everything is health data, arguably. So we need to move towards thinking in terms of data users. And we have a typology of data users, which we published in the Lancet Digital Health, where we have some data users that create a lot of benefits. They have low risks. They should be facilitated. And on the other end, they should be prohibited. And then we have 2 types in the middle. And now the elephant in the room is, how do we get there? How do we know what the public value of data is? And I'll hand over to Connor for the easy part.
Thank you, Barbara. Well, the first step is in assessing, as Barbara was saying there, what instances of data use, which digital practices contribute to society or to the common good. And a common way of thinking about this up until this point has been to try and define what is in the public interest. But in practice, this approach has been overly black and white and inflexible. We end up with an exhaustive list of data types that are in the public interest or are not in the public interest. So public value and thinking about the creation of public value is an alternative approach. And we have been working to develop a concept of public value that gives us the nuance and the necessary flexibility to consider digital practices and to contribute to better data governance. Let's give this a go. Okay. At the core of this concept of public value is balancing the benefits and risks of digital practices. So, in a nutshell, the more an instance of data use benefits individuals and communities without putting them at harm, the higher the public value. And the more fair and sustainable practices, and the more effective and adequate the harm mitigation measures are in place for if and when harm does occur, the higher the public value still. We've taken this understanding of public value and we've used it to create a tool for the public assessment, of the public value of data use, which my colleague Seliem will now introduce.
Fantastic. In our typology, we have different types of data use, right? We have a data use that has high benefit and low risk. An example could be the use of purchasing data to improve school meals in a specific neighborhood. So this type of data use should be facilitated. We also have a data use that has low risk and low benefit. Say somebody uses credit card data again to personalize advertisements for clothing. In this scenario, we think that the profits should be shared with the public domain. When there's a high benefit and a high risk, for example, say we use geolocation data to think about the frequency of trains in a specific area, that is highly beneficial, but say in that example, an area that is already underserved or close to being underserved gets entirely cut off from public transport. That's a huge risk. So in this scenario, our logic says we need to reduce the risk to an acceptable level so that the data use can go ahead. There's a fourth one, of course, low benefit, high risk. Say a social media company finds out which type of content is the most insightful to hate, and then optimizes their algorithms for that type of content to maximize engagement. These data uses, as Barbara was saying earlier, should be entirely outlawed. So just keep this in mind, and then think about this. That is the final page of our tool. And the colors you can see, they correspond to kind of the data use that should be outlawed, bottom right, the data use that should be facilitated, top left, and then the two in between that Barbara mentioned earlier. Now, if we have a specific instance of data use, how do we end up in one of those quadrants, right? That's the goal. Well, we use our tool that we developed, which is called PLUTO, the Public Value Assessment Tool. What's PLUTO? PLUTO is a 21 questions questionnaire. The questions are split into 4 categories, and the goal is to evaluate the public value associated with a specific instance of data use. Who do we think should be using this tool? In principle, anyone and everyone, really. So anyone who's interested in public value, anyone who's interested in data use. That could be an individual person, that could be an organization, that could be a private company. I think in the long run, we hope that data management access bodies will also rely on our tool, or at least that's the goal in the long run, but let's start somewhere. Why are we developing this tool? I think what you said, Nicole, fits perfectly. The moment has come to really move to practical implementations of these ideas, and we really hope that PLUTO lays the groundwork for that type of work. I'll take you through some of them so you have a better idea of what this looks like. Let's start with the first category, which is information about the data user. In this category, we take into account who wants to use the data. Do they have a lot of resources? What type of risk mitigation can we expect from them? What type of overall governance structure can we expect from them? And then we weigh the answers in this category. For example, this is an example question. We ask about the reporting requirements. How transparent is the data user? The second category, benefits of data use. As Connor explained earlier, our conception of public value is really a weighted composite in a way of benefits and risks. So it's obviously crucial to think about the benefits. So who do the benefits manifest for? What type of benefits manifest? Do they benefit future generations? Do they benefit primarily current generations? And we penalize or reward, especially sustainability considerations. The mirror image to this is, of course, the risks of data use. So which risks are entailed in a specific instance of data use, and who do these risks manifest for primarily, right? Is it groups that have historically not been able to benefit from advanced digital practices and the proliferation of digital data in the first place? That's the case again, that is penalized in our tool. If there are efforts to kind of spread the risks, then that is rewarded in our tool. The last category is what we call institutional safeguards. And of course, not every organization deals with a data use in the same way, or deals with risks in the same way. So you can monitor harms, you can do a pre-deployment risk assessment, you can stop the deployment of something if the risk assessment findings are binding. And all of these questions are summarized in this section, and then we reward or penalize once again. And once you're through this whole tool, the blue dot that we saw on that second slide places you within one of those quadrants and gives you an indication of whether your data use creates public value or less so. If you want to check it out, we launched it today, just now. You can check it out at PLUTO.univ, which is univienna.ac.at. If you want to find it on Twitter, you can go to #PLUTOPV. A bit of shameless self-promo is necessary. That said, we also have a workshop coming up next Wednesday at the Wissenschaftskolleg. This Wednesday, sorry. There's actually a split on this between British and American, but yeah. In 2 days, we have a workshop coming up at Wissenschaftskolleg zu Berlin. If you'd like to take part in that workshop, it's a full day, in-depth discussion around PLUTO. Shoot us an email, ideally Barbara, and we'll invite you.